Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at this multicellular algae assignment. It says, please review the following PowerPoint and complete the chart at the end. The video will assist you in finding the answers. You'll not be able to type directly on the document. Instead, please enter your answers in the text box. So when you open this assignment, you should see a blue submit button up here. And you're going to hit that, and down below it's going to open up a text entry box. This is the PowerPoint that you're going to be reviewing. When you click on it, it should open it up in a Google Slides type manner, and it's going to look something like this. You cannot write on it, or you might be able to write on it, but please don't write on it, okay? Please enter your answers in the text box. So these are the seaweeds and the marine plants, and here's just a couple different examples of different types of algae. So multicellular algae, these are marine algae like seaweed. They're also called macrophytes, and they're classified in either the plant or the protista group, depending on who you talk to. They're multicellular and eukaryotic, and this comes from a book called Castro-Huber Marine Biology. The general structure, the complete body is called the thallus. Leaf-like structures are going to be the blades. They have gas-filled bladders called pneumocytes that help them to float. The stem is called the stipe, and they look like roots, but they're not really roots. It's just called a holdfast. And it's literally just to keep the algae in place, or the seaweed in place. It has nothing to do with nutrient absorption like the roots do on our plants that we would have at home. Green algae is known as the chlorophyta. It's freshwater or terrestrial with minimal marine species. Most unicellular, they have many microscopic types, and they use chlorophyll. They can live as either epiphytes or on seaweed. Some are endophytes, which means that they live within the tissue of other plants. And a couple examples are sea lettuce and dead man's fingers. So here's what these types of things look like. Here's some seaweed that would be lettuce. Here, like the dead man's fingers. If you've ever been to the beach, you've probably had this wrapped around your leg a time or two. I know when I used to go to the beach as a child, I hated feeling seaweed because I never knew if it was a fish or if it was just this gooey, sticky, slimy stuff. The next type is the brown algae, and these are the phaeophytas. They have a fucosanthin for pigment. There's about 1,500 known species, almost all are marine, most complex and largest type of seaweed. The kelps are the largest group, and they can grow up to 2 feet in one day, which is huge. They have been recorded to be over 330 feet long, and these are like gigantic types of seaweed. These are not going to be found like at your normal beach. These ones survive really deep down in the ocean. I mean, if they're going to be 330 feet tall, it's going to be pretty deep down there, so you're not going to run into these, but they're like giant kelps. This is what a kelp harvesting ship looks like. Look at how much kelp they have. And they go out there and do some deep water fishing. The red algae is the rhodophyta. These phyobillions are the pigments. Most of the 4,000 species are marine, so they're going to live in like your oceans. These are considered the parasites of other seaweeds. So they encrust or they grow on the surface of rocks or other algae. The articulated varieties branch and grow upward like many land plants, and they're usually referred to as the corallines. So they're parasites, meaning that they are detrimental or that they hurt other seaweeds. The economical importance of algae. So they can help to make different types of gels like facial moisturizers and things like that. Allergen is used in products as a thickener and an emulsifier. So dairy products, you might find it. Ice cream for smoothness. Cakes and pies to keep them from drying out. You've probably eaten algae and not even known it. Red algae is used as an emulsifier in instant puddings. So if you've ever eaten that Oreo dirt stuff, you've probably eaten red algae. Agar can form jellies. It's stuff to protect ham, fish, and meats during canning processes. And a variety of them are used as fertilizers or food additives for animals. The sea grasses, these are more of plants, not necessarily algae, but we kind of group them together. These are the anthophytas. It's a flowering plant related to lilies. They also contain chlorophyll. They're green, so that's why we would say they contain chlorophyll. Examples include eelgrass, turtle grass, and manatee grasses. They inhabit shallow areas and protected coastal areas. They are very productive, so they're going to grow pretty quickly. And they act as protection for marine species like immature fish. So it's like the nursery area For fish, they'll go in here and they'll have their babies, and that's because there's normally a lot of food present, and the babies have a place to hide from predators. The mangroves, you may have talked about these a little bit in like a 9th grade biology class. They're known as the anthrophytes as well. These are trees that can tolerate salt water, which is extremely unusual because most of the time, if you put a plant in salt water, it's going to die, especially a tree. The red mangroves are found in tropical waters, and their roots sit in salt water at high tide. So they're not always in salt water, but at some point during the day, they are. Chlorophyll is the major pigment, and the leaves are thick for protection from water loss.
Good morning. It's now time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for a moment of silence.
I'm going to pause this video real quick, and then I'll pick up in a second. Okay, so getting back to it here. So this is what you are going to be filling in as far as the chart is concerned. This chart right here. And I just opened up a Word document on my end. This is what you would be typing into the text box. So you're not going to make a chart that looks exactly like this, but you have the headings the same. So for the green algae, and most of these answers you will be able to find directly from that PowerPoint. So the first thing we need to do is look for the phylum. So let's see here. Where is the green algae? Here they are. It's Chlorophyta. So I would come over here and write Chlorophyta. The pigment is chlorophyll. Some examples, those examples are listed right down here. You're looking for 2 to 3, and you can also Google if you want more. Lettuce, dead man's fingers. And some characteristics about it. So they can live on or in a plant, which is what we learned about right here. Live alone. Can live inside a plant. Let me just pull that over a little bit. Okay, so my next one was going to be the brown algae. And I'm just doing that based off of what was down here in that chart. So we're doing brown, red, seagrass, and mangroves. So right here we are at the brown algae. Their phylum is going to be this Phaeophyta, Phaeophyta. Their pigment is fucoxanthin, Fucoxanthin. Examples. So there's 15,000 different species. Kelp. And since we're looking for about 2 examples, at this point I would go over to my Google here, and I would type in examples of brown algae. And it comes up with a bunch, so I could write down any of these ones here. Fucocells. Okay. And then for some characteristics, they can grow 2 feet in one day, which is pretty interesting, I think. Most plants can't do that. And also, let's say they can grow over 330 feet, which is also a really unusual characteristic for a plant. The next one is going to be the red algae. So moving on down, so that's the kelp boats. Here's the red algae. All right, the Rhodophyta. And their pigment is that first bullet there, the phycobillions. Examples. Coralline, and since they only have one listed there, I'd go back to Google and examples of red algae. And I would write this one down here, this Floridae. Now for the characteristics part of it. They're parasites, which is kind of interesting. They can grow on rocks or other plants. Tab that over, so, oops. I don't know why that's happening. Rocks or plants. Okay, and my next one is going to be the seagrass. And then we just have the mangrove. And these ones both come from the same phylum. Chlorophyll is going to be the main pigment in both. For examples, you can find those: eelgrass, turtle grass, manatee grass, and there's red mangroves, and there's also black mangroves. And then for facts, for the mangroves, they can tolerate salt water. And you can also look up that they have really thick leaves here. And for the grasses, you could say that they protect baby fish and that they live in very shallow areas. Alrighty guys, that's it for this assignment. Make sure you submit it. Have a good day.